4, 3. All right, everything looking good on my end. We appear to be live. Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with our midweek market update. It is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021 at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And before we get started, I'd like to remind you this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. All right, let's jump right in. Good to see you over there, my friend. Hope you've been doing well. What's up, brother? Good to see you. All right, let's get rolling, guys. So obviously had some nice volatility, some big moves. Nothing really unexpected, to tell you the truth. I mean, the market is basically on strings right now, and we are pulling those strings. So let's take a look at what's happening here. So the 10-year Treasury, still just chopping sideways, doing nothing particular here. It's got two options. You know, it either gets rejected by the 200 moving averages and pushed down lower, which is what I would favor based on the technicals, or we regain that support level and move to the upside. Either one is a viable option at this point in time, just because we're approaching the point where essentially the Fed might make a move, and markets are basically sitting there like puckered up, just waiting for something to happen, like trying to figure out what the next move is. And the truth is, I mean, it could realistically go either way, but we'll know very soon. So TLT, obviously just the inverse version of that. You know, the real question is basically you know, we're in an uptrend. We broke down from that uptrend. Now we're trying to get back into that uptrend again. Are we going to do that successfully or not? So, you know, obviously this is a flight to safety, but in my opinion, we really just got to wait and see. Either option is viable, you know, whether it's the 0.5 on the TLT or the 0.5 on the TNX. If we turn our drawing tools back on, you know, it's the same, or I'm sorry, the 382 on the TNX. It's the same thing. You know, it's basically just the next move to our support or resistance level. So the real question is, you know, is this going to just break down? Which I think it is. I mean, the main thing that matters is, you know, basically is that we're putting in just a higher low on this. So not a big deal. Nothing really has changed here. I think we'll find out very soon. You know, obviously if bond yields go lower, I think that would be probably a little more stable for the markets. But if they go higher, it could get a little wild. But let's go look at what really matters. So we've been talking about the VIX lately, and here we got it. Got the massive push up on the VIX that we were expecting. You know, once again, we talked about how we have basically been carving out this bottoming area. We were approaching the bottom of the channel and expecting some serious volatility to enter the markets. Lo and behold, got the cross back to the upside, the bullish cross, followed by a, I mean, I don't even know, close to a, over 20% move, I would say, from peak to trough. Oh, I'm sorry, way more than that. 20% candle, 42% move on the VIX. So obviously this is what we've been paying attention to, as well as the DXY, to see what was going to happen. You know, could we get continuation on this? Yeah, of course. I think we could easily get, you know, up a little higher, get near the top of the channel. But we're basically into resistance right now. So it would not be unrealistic to think that we chop around sideways if we're going to get a follow through move, or that this just breaks back down, markets get bought back up, and we just continue into like the euphoric rise. So here we have the DXY. You know, once again, the entire world is wrong and we were right. So we have broken higher than our previous little top right here. You know, we're now basically testing the top from back here in March of 2021. And the longer that we consolidate at this area, the more time we spend in this area, the more likely we are to break through it and break to the upside, which is once again what we're expecting. Not just because we want to see that happen, not just because we got a feeling deep down inside that makes us think that's going to happen, but because everything technically is pointing towards the upside. So you could make up 100 reasons why the dollar is going to go to zero, because they're printing dollars and the Federal Reserve and blah, 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 blah. All the fundamentals in the world will get you absolutely nowhere. we use technicals here. So the technicals now have flipped over the exponential to the upside on the daily. The 200 simple now has a positive slope on the daily, and we are at resistance right now that we have retested multiple times. We have a very clear bottoming pattern no matter how you look at it, and the next move to happen is going to be a break of our neckline once we chop through this area. The key area that we ran into trouble at was this white resistance line here. We're now above the initial resistance, the yellow resistance. Once we break up to the top of that, once again, I would expect a rejection, chop around sideways, and then finally a breakout and measure move. This move, when and if it happens to the upside, is going to be what completely changes the entire sentiment and all the markets. A breakout of the dollar to the upside is going to put an immense amount of pressure on asset classes, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, probably gold and silver because they're trading almost exactly like inverse to each other. If this dollar, obviously this chart is in comparison to the basket of currencies, but if this dollar breaks to the upside, I think we're going to see money flooding out of a bunch of other things. Now, bonds could go either way. The bond situation could go either way because both the DXY and the bonds are a flight to safety. But I have a feeling that depending on how violent this move is, how violent this breakthrough is, that we'll see bonds sell off as well. So we'll be here waiting for it. We will not be surprised. Now I'm starting to hear people coming around. Oh, we think the dollar's going to pop higher and then it's going to go to zero. Whatever. Stop changing your mind every time something changes, and every time something happens it's like, no, that's what we were expecting, but then after that. It's so ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, here we were just double bottoming on that support. We have a clear either slanted head and shoulders inverse pattern or a Adam and Eve double bottom. We had bullish divergence on multiple time frames. Here, the weekly chart now, we are above the zero line. We have a bunch of green histograms in a row. We have a blue slope line. We have powerful stochastics inside of the bullish control zone. Once again, we're at resistance. We have bullishly engulfed the previous candle. I mean, everything pointing to the upside on the daily, on the weekly. And now let's take a look at the monthly. Turn off our drawing tools here and we'll see that exactly what I said happened. We flipped over the slope line on the monthly, 200 simple, and now the 200 exponential as well. We put in a higher low from our 2018 low. This is very clearly a double bottoming pattern and a higher low in a series of higher lows that we have been essentially putting in since 2008. So anyone that has been, basically bearish on the DXY since the 2008 is wrong, has been wrong, because that's when we bottomed. So all the people calling for a new bottom in the DXY are wrong and have been wrong for, at this point in time, like 13 years. So it's pretty pathetic. I don't know how long you want to hang on to something and be wrong, but I guess if you wait long enough, maybe you'll be right. So, but I mean, 13 years is a long time to just be consistently putting in higher lows. And then even if you were bearish then, I mean, once you break back above the 200 exponential, that's 2014. So like from 2014 to 2021, we've obviously been trending upward and putting in higher lows. So that's another 7 years of being extra wrong. And then by the time the 200 simple rolled over, that was December 2019. So like maybe you could argue, well, no, I was right for a couple years here. I don't know. It's just absolutely pathetic, the people that are calling for this stuff. Obviously, like, if you're a fundamentalist or whatever, that's fine. But don't pretend to be a technical analyst and then sit here and look at a chart. And when it's Bitcoin, it's bullish. But you take the exact same chart and you change the heading from Bitcoin to DXY and all of a sudden the dollar's going to zero. It's like, so Bitcoin's not going to go to zero, but the dollar is. And then you like remove the header from the top and it's like, oh, it was Bitcoin the whole time. Fucking idiots. So yeah, I mean, at this point in time, we're retesting the 21. We're above the 8. We're above the 200 exponential. We're above the 200 simple. They all have positive slopes to the upside at this point in time. We're at resistance, which is our neckline of our head and shoulders pattern or our double bottom pattern. I mean, what's going to happen? We have like 13 days. Do we break through this right now? Maybe, maybe not. you know, could go either way. But I mean, we're probably going to get a pretty violent move somewhere up near like 94.5. Maybe we just get one of these, but a big green one. We'll have to see. I think more likely than not, we close at this resistance and then we open on top of it, open on top of the candle, probably get a push down like this. You know, we close at it, open on top of the 21, and then push down, find support, and then continue to the upside. That's what I think will happen. But, you know, hard buy signal, leaving the bearish control zone, multiple green histograms in a row. I mean, we've been literally talking about this stuff for months. So all you can do is just go back and look at every video for the last like 4 months that we've been doing, and you can just watch it play out perfectly. All the calls have been 100% on point. So I guess we'll just keep being right about everything until we're wrong about something. So, but there we have the DXY. Let's look at, speaking of being right, you guys want to look at crypto now? Let's look at our traditional markets, actually, as we had some excitement, some craziness today. So let's look at our indexes first. So here we've got the Dow Jones Industrial. You know, nothing crazy yet, but a clear breakdown below the 8 and 21. Still holding. We've been talking about a retest of our breakout level, which is this green support right here. It also lines up perfectly with our little diagonal ascending support here in blue. So that's going to be a strong area. You know, we've been putting in quite a bit of like weekly divergence. So, you know, it would not be unrealistic to think that, you know, this was our high right here, and then we have essentially what amounted to a lower high right here, and then we break down. But I mean, let's be real here. There's, how many months is this? This is a weekly chart. How many of these histograms are even green? There's one fucking green histogram. The rest are red. If this isn't a melt up of divergence, I don't know what is. So, you know, the idea of, well, we'll just keep buying the dip. Works until it doesn't. Well, this might be the time it doesn't. So careful there, guys. But the truth is, you know, this will probably just keep floating up here. The indexes are probably the best bet because somehow miraculously they have continued to go to the upside and put in new all-time highs when you can like literally look through hundreds of assets and can't find one that's putting in a new all-time high. So there's something miraculous about that, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's absolutely fucking amazing. SPY, the S&P, you know, this is anticipated. Obviously, we've been squeezing into this tightening range. What did I say? I believe it was our last live stream. I expected a breakdown from here. I expected everyone to get extremely bearish, it get bought up, and then go back to the upside and reach our target of 460 or 4,600, however you want to look at it. I still think that that's probably what's going to happen. I don't think that, you know, all of a sudden the Fed and like institutions and everyone's just going to say, oh no, that's it, we're going to let it crash all over again. I think probably more realistically than that, it's going to come down here, retest like the 21 moving average, get bought up aggressively, and then shoot up to the top. I think we'll get a blow off top situation taking place. Once again, bearish divergence at the top of the range, unsustainable levels. We're at what amounts to the very top of a channel that we've been operating inside of since 2009. So this was when, you know, basically financial crash, nothing got fixed, and we just kept floating up since then. So probably just gonna have a similar situation take place again. I mean, that's the thing about all this that is most important is regardless of whether you like are fundamentally or technically like bullish on this stuff, you have to understand that nothing has actually been fixed in, you know, this decade. Like, we didn't actually change anything. Nothing is better. So in all reality, like, we're just, you know, it's that old saying, we're just kicking the can down the road. You know, and keep in mind, these are 1% drops. This is a 1% drop in the index. It's not like, oh shit, this is it. No, people are just so spoiled because it never goes down that they're like freaking out over 1%. So here is the IXIC NASDAQ, same exact situation. We have essentially this ascending support line. You know, we have broken down from it and gotten aggressively bought up multiple times. You know, again, I would expect this to come back down and retest that breakout level. If it even gets down here, 14,144. Once again, very clear bearish divergence, not only on the daily, but also on the weekly as well. You know, obviously we have a very clear top right here, and then depending if you want to count that double top there or just skip that little mini hump and then go to the big boy right up here, we have some very clear bearish divergence once again. And, you know, obviously we're at extremely elevated levels. Do I think this thing just keeps floating up? Yeah, probably. But, you know, maybe it'll go down 3% before it floats up. I mean, the old Russell, this is the one we're really paying attention to. Not because we want to buy any of it or invest in the old Russell, but because it's a total piece of shit. And it's basically been telling us how weak everything else is, while like the rest of these indexes have been basically lying to us. So while the Russell is, you know, basically just full of 2,000 stocks, you know, what, 1,000 of them, 500 of them, a large portion of these are total pieces of shit. So this index is composed of a couple winners, a bunch of mediocre stocks, and then just a basket of like different kinds of shit. So this one is really telling us what's going on here, as not only is it not making new all-time highs, but it's basically just been chopping sideways for month after month after month. So at this point in time, we have essentially an entire year of going sideways. And that's giving us, I think, a more accurate representation, as these are more like the small caps inside of, you know, the stock market. It's not just a couple like massive stocks able to hold these up, because the weighting of each is less because there's 2,000 of them. So, you know, at this point in time, we're basically just hanging on to the 200 exponential and simple, and we're barely hanging on to the support right here. So when we came down off the top right here, we double top, came down to the bottom, bounced to the halfway point, the heart line, and got rejected. So typically, and I'm not saying this is going to happen this time, but typically when we get a break of a range, it happens just like this. We come all the way from the top to the bottom, back to the heart line, and then back to the bottom, and it breaks. So do I think we're going to just break through the 200 exponential, 200 simple, and the bottom of the range? No, probably not. We will probably just have a lackluster bounce off of this area. There's a bunch of support through here, and then we'll probably just continue to trade sideways until the one time that we don't. But if it does happen, it could get pretty violent pretty quick. And also, this will be our little canary in the coal mine, the same way that China has been our canary in the coal mine. And we've been talking about it for months, how we expected China to warn us of what was going to be happening around the world, because the same way they didn't warn us when they, you know, unleashed a plague on purpose or on accident on the entire world, you know, this is basically like they're just a couple months ahead of everybody else. So while I'm not saying they intentionally did this, I think that they intentionally went out of their way to not stop it. I mean, think about it like this. If you're China, for instance, here's my little rant for today. If you're the CCP, okay, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, you know, we accidentally let out something that's going to permanently affect our economy for years or decades to come, and we're going to have to shut it down, and there's going to be millions of casualties, and oh no, like, what should we do? And they're like, well, we could stop it or try to stop it and tell everybody else so they can get ready and prepare so they don't have the same thing happen to them. Or we could just try to cover our own asses, because we don't want everybody else to have a leg up on us, because if we warn them, they might be able to prevent the same thing from happening. So do I think they intentionally unleashed this on the world and fucked everybody else over? No. Do I think that they intentionally went out of their way to cover it up and be quiet about it so that they didn't suffer the effects while everybody else like went on with business as usual? Yes. Yeah, I 100% think that shady ass fucking CCP did this on purpose, in the sense that they didn't warn everyone. So yes, 100%. So essentially, the same way that the Chinese stock market is that canary in the coal mine, I think the Russell is the canary in the coal mine inside of our stock market. So, and we'll see there's a bunch of other little warning signs as well, like our little semiconductors, you know, our transportation sector, etc. So, but this is a very important chart in my opinion. And if we do get that breakdown from here, I think this is going to be, you know, violent. And that's going to, the first time one of these indexes breaks down from a key level and all of a sudden people are just like, oh wait, buying the dip's not working anymore, that's going to change the entire sentiment of the market. The same way that this is all just a confidence game. And the moment that people lose confidence in, quote unquote, the Fed buying it all or buying every dip or whatever, it's going to change the entire way the market acts. And that's why people get wrecked at bottoms and tops. It's a transition between a bull market and a bear market. If you've been buying the dip for month after month after month, or a lot of these analysts have only been in the market for a decade or less, and they're like in their 30s, maybe they weren't even born during like, you know, serious like crashes, and they definitely weren't participating in the stock markets. And, you know, most of them are probably fresh out of school and just a pretty face to put on TV, or they got into crypto in the last like 4 years. They haven't even experienced like a full bear cycle. I mean, let's be real here. These people are fucking idiots. They literally don't know shit. Everything they know is been during a parabolic bull market that never ends. So the second that we have anything other than that, they're not going to fucking know what to do. They haven't been reading books from like the 1900s. They haven't been practicing technical analysis. They haven't been through recessions and depressions. They don't know shit. All they know is, oh, well, you just buy the dip and then eventually it just makes a new high. So you can't lose. You can't lose. So the Russell is going to be the one that tells us, in my opinion. XLB is next. So let's just run through all these sectors kind of quick. Materials hit the measure move and looks like it's basically rolling over. Most of these charts are going to look the same too. It's the follow through we're paying attention to. Communication, you know, basically looks like it's about to get that 821 cross back to the downside, very far away from the 200 exponential and simple. If this thing starts to feel the hurt, it's going to really feel the hurt. XLY just lost a key level. Now it's looking like basically a throw over double top right here. You know, consumer discretionary really needed to like hold on to this level, but a breakdown now looks like it's more than likely going to be headed down to the 200 exponential and simple. We obviously got the cross last couple times. It got bought up, so you don't want to get too bearish on any of this stuff yet. Energy XLE, you know, never even was able to flip back to the upside. Probably one of, if not the worst performer index wise in these markets, but that's no surprise obviously, as oil is still way off its all-time highs. It's still like 50% of all-time highs, so looks terrible. Hanging on to the 200 simple for now. Lost the 200 exponential, you know, and the slope has technically flipped over a red right here. So while I do expect it to find some kind of support through this area, you know, we're at a pretty key support range. We're now back at like, you know, this thing has just wiped out the whole year's gains. XLF financials, you know, obviously poked up new high, and here we go. Hard sell signal, you know, hanging on to the 21 for now. We'll see. XLI industrials, you know, just this thing has just been going sideways forever. Again, it has just basically wiped out back to May. Doesn't look particularly good or bad. Basically just going sideways. XLK, you know, I mean, it's strange because, you know, in many ways tech outperformed this year, but then it's been doing basically like nothing. So we'll have to see. I mean, this thing has been putting in consistent bearish divergence. It's not a surprise. The knife is also down at like the bottom of the range though. It looks like we're probably going to retest this and then get the 821 cross. Again, we're way off the 200 exponential and simple, which are basically like doubled up. XLP, consumer staples, was literally in the middle of putting in new all-time highs and then massive bearish candle. I would expect it to come back down here like 71, retest support, and then we'll see what happens from there. You know, they're talking all over TV about how strong the consumer is. The consumer is weak as fuck. The only way the consumer is even still alive right now is because of the socialism programs that are going on throughout like the country and the world. Take away all the little hand-me-outs that we're like giving out to everybody, like the food stamps and the child tax credit. And by child tax credit, I mean the checks that they're just mailing out to everybody who laid on their back. All these stimulus payments, all this shit, like that's a strong consumer. Paying people unemployment and, you know, extra unemployment, they're strong. No, you gave people a giant crutch. No, you don't have to pay your rent. You don't have to pay your student loans. You don't fucking pay for anything. It's all free now. Because anything you do still have to pay for, the government will pay for you. And then all of a sudden, you're going to sit here and say how strong the consumer is? No, the consumer is a limp noodle being propped up by fucking crutches. XLRE, real estate, still basically just going sideways at the top of the range. By far one of the strongest. Massive amounts of bearish divergence here. XLY, Consumer discretionary, again, broke out to new levels, could not hold those levels. Now it's got the 821 cross. Probably going to come down here to those key levels, 168 or so. Transportation, XTN, has been weak for some time now and still looks extremely weak. I think we're probably headed down to one of these targets finally, as expected. Again, we've been operating inside this giant channel. Couldn't even make it to the top of the channel. We've just been hanging out in the bottom of the channel. Finally broke out of it. We have a measure move down here, Fibonacci extension levels. We have, lots of good stuff to pay attention to. But, we're very clearly losing the slope right here. And this is basically part of why I use the 200 exponential and simple, is obviously because it's more like what Wall Street uses versus like a little more reactive. Like I like the exponential, but, most Wall Street traders, traditional market traders use 200 simple. I like to use both of them. But when you see this cross take place where the 200 simple, because it lags, crosses over to the upside above the 200 exponential, it means we've lost momentum to the upside. And the 200 simple just hasn't reacted yet. And typically that's like what a topping out or cooling down, either a, retracement or just a consolidation period happens. So once I see that happen, I don't want to say bearish, but I'm uninterested in that asset or asset class while those are still crossed like that. I want to see the momentum, because momentum is where money's made. You trade with the trend, but you also want momentum. And right now, there's no momentum. It's losing momentum. This, once again, canary in the coal mine as far as I'm concerned. We are seeing some potential signs of what should be bullishness. And then what happened? Massive underperformer, an attempt to flip this back to the upside, and now it looks like it's failing. This is heading down lower, in my opinion, before long. Even if it's not this drive, it's going. Jets looks like total shit. The 200 exponential has rolled over. 200 simple is getting ready to roll over. This is no surprise, obviously, as, I said it way back when they bailed out the airlines before. I said, fucking let half of them go away, because we're not going to need them in the future, because shit's going to change. And now here we are. How long? I mean, look at international travel is pathetic compared to what it used to be. Look at business travel, pathetic compared to what it used to be. So these things are going to go back to all-time highs? How about never? How about never? Hail. You got your rental cars and all that shit in here too. Again, lost to 200 exponential. The slope is curving to the downside. This thing looks like it's getting ready to roll over and die. Capitulation is in your future. UPS. Again, trying to come up here and fill that gap from the breakdown and then getting rejected. Hanging on for right now. We could easily see this push back up here. It's getting the hard buy signal. Bunch of green histograms in a row. I don't think it's unrealistic to think this comes back up, closes that gap, and then gets rejected. But definitely losing strength here. FedEx, much weaker. It has a gap down, but much less of a gap down. But more importantly, though, we're basically retesting that key support from back here in 2018. We're at the top of this giant broadening wedge, barely hanging on to the 200 exponential and simple. And in this case, it's strange because the 200 simple has actually rolled over. This went sideways for so long. We're still above the 200 exponential. But if we break down from the 200 exponential, this thing's going to go into a violent sell-off, as that is typically what like bots and algos use. They either use price action above the 200 exponential or simple, or they use the slope on it like I do. So either way, looks like shit. U.S. oil breaking down from that key level. There's still quite a bit of random shop and support and everything right here. We have the 200 below them. I would expect some kind of support around like $60. Again, a lot of this can change and be heavily influenced by what's going on with OPEC, the Middle East, etc. I thought it was hilarious to see Biden out, on his knees begging for them to pick up oil production. Yeah, okay. The world is not as fucking stupid as the U.S. government thinks it is. We're like, oh, we're going to stop doing all this, but we want you to pick up production so that the prices go back down. So you help us out, but we don't really give a shit about you. I think it's probably the whole world's going to get tired of that attitude real quick. So let's switch over now to Tesla. Tesla had a nice little move up here. Obviously, they're having some issues with their full self-driving, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It's fundamental garbage as far as I'm concerned. What I'm paying attention to is high, lower high again. Looks like we're headed down here. Tesla it's hanging on to the 200 simple right now. 200 exponential looks probable, $600. this is what I'm paying attention to, though. If we look at the weekly, it was able to flip back up the slope line. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see any closes below like 664. Which obviously if we're topping out right here and we start to sell back off, this is going to look like an attempt to save the trend, a failure, and then it rolls back over. And when it rolls over this time, it's going to retest those bottom areas like down here in the mid fives. And then after that, we're going to see some serious capitulation. This looks to me, honestly, like a bearish consolidation. You know, we basically sold off violently and then we've been consolidating. Now you see the indicator oscillators like floating to the upside. I think it's just a matter of time. And we'll notice that exactly like I was pointing out months ago, back in 2012, Tesla did something very similar. Went on a parabolic run to the upside and then went through just a chop phase like this. You know, and it chopped sideways from when it put in its high basically in 2014. It went sideways from 2014 until it finally broke out of that in 2017. So does Tesla have to go to zero? No. Does it have to even go down? No. It could literally just go sideways for 3 years. And how many people, how many options traders are going to just capitulate? You know, and then by then, maybe it actually catches up to some of its valuation by like being a profitable company, doing something other than like selling carbon credits, using, you know, Bitcoin profits to be a profitable company. .com what? Huh? What bubble? Uber is next. Uber looking absolutely terrible, well below 200 exponential, 200 simples getting ready to roll over. We're headed down to our targets, $35 and $30 are my next targets, well below our, you know, obviously we peaked out here on that little push, but we're right back where we started at. You know, essentially, I mean, it's very realistic to think that we could come down here to one of these very low levels. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen at this point in time. I would expect us to find some kind of support around like $25, but along the way, I think we'll stair step. You know, again, there's a lot of shit that lot of overhead pressure on a lot of this stuff, you know, and easy money and everybody being a winner. People just make dumbass decisions, and when all of a sudden that goes away, things start to change. And it takes years and years and decades sometimes to recover, especially for these companies that are not even profitable. You think they're going to go from non-profitable to extremely overvalued to like, oh no, now we're good again and we can just keep going up. No, they're going to completely shit the bed. And you know, the more these stock valuations go up when we shit the bed is going to be so much worse on these companies because they are wasting money and doing dumbass things while they have ridiculous valuations. So once we start going into like bear markets or downturns or whatever, all of a sudden they have to be like tight with their money and they don't know how and they're not profitable. So then all of a sudden every number set that they put out is worse than the last. The earnings look like shit. The valuations look like shit. And then next thing you know, you end up in a death spiral. Pinterest, doing exactly what we said, retesting the lows right here. I expect this area to break. I will see you at our next target, $49, possibly lower down here, like $45, at which point in time, once again, I will buy the dip and expect some sort of reaction rally off the bottom of the range. You know, we're trading inside a range. I expect it to happen until it doesn't. The thing we need to pay attention to now is, now we have the 200 simple rolled over and flip bearish, 200 exponential rolled over and flip bearish. So everything has changed now as far as I'm concerned. So maybe I won't buy the dip. We'll have to wait and see. You know, I don't mind taking some scalps in a move when we're above the 200 exponential and simple. Once we lose those areas, I get a little more skeptical. But I don't know, is this going to end up being a massive breakaway gap, or are we going to come back up and fill it? I would say probably fill it, but historically and technically speaking, like 95% of gaps get filled. But there's a thing called a breakaway gap for a reason, because they don't have to get filled. Wish, you know, exactly what we're expecting, a new low. We're nearly to our target, which we basically like went off of the 2.618. You know, we're so close to it at this point in time, you could basically just say fuck it and buy it. But, you know, again, this thing, all it has now is overhead pressure. No one that has ever bought this stock ever, no one that has ever invested in this company since it went public is in profit. Not one. Not one person in the whole world. So, do you think it's more likely it goes up or down if everybody's a loser? Probably down, but I'm paying attention. I may buy this area as it is a key Fibonacci extension level. And, you know, the way those targets lined up. Well, we went through it in quite detail in some of the other videos. So Airbnb, again, looking like shit. Lot of overhead pressure. Looks like it's ready to just roll back over to the downside. The air is coming out of the BNB, if you know what I'm saying. Vodafone, I don't like this. I still don't like it. I don't, yeah. It just looks terrible, especially on longer time frames. Anything that's not making a new high since 2000, I'm just really not that interested in. Bumble had a nice little reaction rally again. That's the second time this happened. I think it's trying to carve out a bottom right here. We'll see, though. I think more likely than not, though, it's going to end up breaking down. It's very possible, though, that does head up here to like $57. But again, I just really don't see. There's way easier trades out there, in my opinion, than this one right now. Baidu, all these China stocks look like shit. They're trying to carve out a bottom at 618 here. But the real question is, are we just bouncing these key support areas? I mean, there's a bunch of support from back in January 2020. A bunch of support from November 2020. But all you got to do is just look at the longer time frames, and it tells you how I feel about this without using words. Bullish. No, that can't be right. Looks like shit. 618 could hold, but I think more likely than not. I mean, until I see some kind of signs of life out of this thing, $128. I mean, shit, even Kathy Wood made a good decision on this one, and we know she's been struggling. Michael Burry's against her now, too. Poor Kathy. I might flip to bullish on Kathy just to help her out, because I know everybody else has just got her bent over, sticking it to her. Poor Kathy. Poor Kathy. Baba looks terrible. Breaking down from key levels. Measure move coming down here. Headed down to the 786. I mean, it looks like total shit. We had talked specifically about this situation, and it's doing exactly what we talked about. So I'm not ready to get overly bullish on this thing. I don't want to just try to buy the bottom of China while they're doing all kinds of effed up things. Let's just be real here. The United States isn't exactly like Mr. Popularity after its recent move. And the whole Biden playbook on how to fuck everything up fast. But let's be real. I mean, I think China is probably in even less favor. So yeah, not looking to just run in and snatch up anything Chinese right now. 10 cent looks terrible. Trying to find a bottom right here. I mean, I would expect it to just keep selling off. It's basically just having a dead cat bounce off of this level here. 200 exponential and simple rolling over now. Very bad. Diddy did exactly what we said. Came back up, retested the breakdown, and it's just bleeding out. I would expect it to continue bleeding out. Kanzun tried to break back above. I told you this looked unsustainable. This candle right here tells it all. A rejection of those levels, at which point in time we broke straight down, coming back up, and probably just going to continue to the downside. Neo, probably the strongest of anything right now. Chinese, still looks terrible. 200 simple has not rolled over yet, but it looks like it's on its way. 200 exponential has flipped over red again. It did it a couple times already, though. It's just a matter of time on Neo. Just a matter of time before it rolls over. EDU, this is that new Oriental Education and Technology Group. This thing sold off massively, obviously because of the new regulations and China's new I mean, if you heard their little list of goals, it's take everything away from people that are successful and give it to poor people. Equity. Stop letting rich people pay more for better education than poor people. Equity. Go down the list of things that they're saying, and who does it kind of remind you of? Sort of reminds me of the Biden administration. So are we the next China, but with only the bad stuff? Maybe depends. I mean, we'll see how midterms go, but yeah, looks like shit. Broke down from a key level, acting as resistance right here. We're seeing some life out of some of the indicator oscillators, but what's happening, it's just going sideways to down while these float up here. So, I mean, is it possible we get a little push up here and go back to $3? Sure, 50% move definitely could happen, but at this point in time, it looks absolutely terrible, and I don't see China changing their mind anytime soon. Okay, so TSM, been talking about this one for months. Obviously, semiconductors have been absolutely killing it, and for some reason, Taiwan Semiconductor has not been. Well, probably because Taiwan's not going to exist for very long. I suspect that with the pullout of Afghanistan now, U.S. allies, like, all around the world are probably going to all of a sudden start second guessing, whether or not they can count on us anymore. The fact that we actually had troops in Afghanistan and then we pulled those troops out says like, oh, we'll fuck you over real quick on a count of 3, 1, 2, go. So countries like Taiwan that don't have a presence, probably it's just like, oh, we don't even have people there to worry about. So like if something goes on, like why would we even have your back? I mean, I'm not saying that's how we should be, but I'm sure that's probably how they're thinking. And if you start listening to like the propaganda coming out of China right now and everything, they're basically saying the same thing. It's like if you watch what was that movie, Saving Private Ryan, where they're like blasting off like all that German, like after they like bomb out these cities and everything in France, and they're like, the U.S. has retreated. They have been destroyed. The president of the United States is dead. He is, and they're like blasting out all this propaganda. That's like literally what's going on right now in Taiwan from China. So if all of a sudden, and China's doing all these like military drills and everything in the space, like they're probably going to take over Taiwan soon. So I would expect that this probably starts looking like the Chinese stock market, or worse, very soon as well. And then maybe they change their name and relist under like the CSM, Chinese Semiconductor Company. So I don't know, maybe then they'll do good, but probably not. And it's very unfortunate. I don't mean to like make light of anyone. Like I really feel for like Hong Kong and Taiwan and, Afghanistan and all these countries. But let's be real. I mean, the world is fucked right now with all this stupid stuff going on. Intel. Okay, so this is one of those ones that everybody's like, no, Intel's cheap. It's a great bargain. It's a good buy. This is my exact point about things that like aren't. This is why momentum is so important. This thing has not made a new all-time high since 2000. So why in God's name would all of a sudden this be a good buy? It looks more like it's going to get rejected off of like a double top 886 and triple bearish divergence on the monthly. So like I would much rather buy into one of the few things that still has momentum and is moving to the upside than buy something because it's quote unquote cheap or inexpensive. Well, maybe it's cheap and inexpensive because it's a piece of shit. Like maybe there's a reason. Maybe the market has already looked at Intel and said, this is garbage. That's why it's cheap. Or I don't even know. Like, is it cheap or is it just inexpensive? Because cheap implies that there's value there, like, that's not been accounted for. Inexpensive means it just doesn't cost as much as other comparable things because it's probably a piece of shit company. Like, for instance, NVIDIA, much, much better. Let's look at NVIDIA's chart over the long term. Oh, look, let's go back to 2000 and see what NVIDIA was at back in 2000. NVIDIA back in 2000 was $3.80, and now it's $190. So would you rather buy something that was $4 and now it's $200? It has 50x'd in the last 20 years. Or would you rather buy something because it's cheap that has gone sideways for the last 20 something years? I would say probably the one that's 50x'd. Because there's other people buying it or it wouldn't have 50x'd. It's like crazy the mentality people come up with behind these. Like, I mean, I know everybody's looking for a value, but come on, guys. I mean, you're all smarter than that. But talking heads on CNBC and stuff like that, it's like, we're long Intel. Intel's a good investment, especially if you've been in it for 20 years because it's due. NVIDIA looks like it's rolling over right here. Very strong, though. I would expect the 200 exponential and simple to get bought up. AMD, this one's tough because it went full meme stock, so it's probably just going to sell all the way back off to like $95. After that, I mean, I'm bullish on this thing long term. But, this was showing quite a bit of weakness before it got meme stocked. So could this just basically get erased and then it actually rolls over and that's what it was going to do? Possibly. I don't think it's likely, but it's definitely possible. So ARC looks like total shit. Barely hanging on to the 200 exponential, well below 200 simple. Looks like it's getting ready to roll over. The last entire, this entire year of bull market has done nothing for ARC. Kathy Wood has not made anyone any money in over 8 months at this point in time, except for herself, because she gets paid no matter what. So remember that. ARKF, same thing. Looks like shit. Even weaker. Underperformer. Every one of the ARK funds looks exactly the same. They all look like crap. Poop. Trash. Dumpster. Fire. Skills looks terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. We're literally back all the way down at the lowest price it's ever been. So in the entire existence of this, in a year and a half now, there literally no one in profit if you didn't sell. If you didn't sell already, and you just held this thing from inception to now, you're right back where you started. And that's why trading is so much more important than just hodling. And I would expect this to make a new all-time low very soon. I mean, it'll probably get some kind of reaction rally off of it, but eventually new all-time low. Teledoc looks terrible. It's well below 200 exponential and simple. Their slope to the downside, it literally is just bleeding out. Literally just bleeding out. Next target 113. After that, probably somewhere around like $87. Just bleeding out. And most of these things, most of these new issuances, most of these new like IPOs, SPAC deals, all this stuff, they're going to bleed and bleed and bleed. Okay? Because there's not even like long-term investors in these things that have made like thousands of dollars and percentages and over decades. There's no one has conviction in them because they've only been around for like a year or so. So don't expect them to just all of a sudden be strong again. Palantir, looks okay. It's on top of its 200 simple again right here. The 200 exponential is like rolling up. Looks decent. They did something smart too. Bought a shitload of gold. I listened to like the Pomp podcast, and he was talking about, I don't understand why they didn't buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is outperforming gold. They should have bought Bitcoin. Because they're not in a fucking cult. They're an actual company that's trying to succeed. Not everyone's going to get excited if you start taking your balance sheet money on a company that's not even profitable and buying Bitcoin, Pomp. So calm down. Oh, and if you watched his show from like the other day, I can't remember which one it was, he was talking about gold and Bitcoin. And he literally, if you just replaced him talking about gold with him talking about Bitcoin, or him talking about Bitcoin with him talking about gold, he was making like a phenomenal argument for gold accidentally. Like he was talking about Bitcoin and accidentally like was making an amazing argument for gold. So I encourage you to go back and watch that. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But I used to like Pomp, but what kind of arrogant fuck makes a show and calls it the best business podcast? What a moron. Oh God. Anyway, Palantir could go either way. I mean, this looks like it's probably just going to roll over, though, and probably, I don't even know. It's probably going to retest these lows at some point in time. We'll have to wait and see, though. Looks decent for right now. If it consolidates here long enough, though, it probably takes out this high. At which point in time, it's going to be tough to get through that high, but after that, it's got a nice move, probably up to like $31. So there's probably a 25% move. Potentially in the cards for Palantir. Corsair Gaming, exactly what we expected. New low. Not an all-time low, but since we put in the high, it's a new low. And I would expect that to continue happening. I'll be looking at this at like $22, $23 or like 18 something. Definitely looks like it's just going to bleed out. Unity looks decent. Above the 200 exponential and simple now. They do have a slope to the upside. It is consolidating above them for now. Getting a little weakness, but if this area holds, if it comes back down here and holds like this 113 level, I think it has potential to come up here and start putting in some decent moves to the upside. It is still an internal retracement though, so I would think more likely than not, you're probably looking at rejections along the way. See, that was our 618 rejection. So if we consolidate and then bust up again, I think like 145, 146 could be a nice move. Could be a nice move. But again, I mean, if the market continues to show weakness, it's going to be very hard for any of these like individual like stocks that are not well known and not been along for a long time to stay strong. I think, there's musical chairs and there's only a couple chairs left right now, and it's going to get harder and harder to pick the one. So, Zillow looks weak, extremely weak. The 200 simple is about to roll over, and after that, I expect this thing to just continue bleeding out while the stock market or while the housing market's at all-time highs. Something not right here. Zoom looks extremely weak. We basically have a W. I'm sorry, an M, an upside down W. If only there was a name for that. Breaking down from the neckline right here. This thing, I was skeptical about this breakout the entire time because it never did anything. And now here we are below the 200 exponential. The 200 simple has rolled over. This looks like, basically Bitcoin at this point in time. We were in a massive uptrend. We break down from it. We retest and attempt to break to the upside. We retest, attempt to break from the upside, and then it fails and just bleeds out. I have a feeling that Zoom will be back at $230 in the near future. But, maybe that changes. Maybe we find support. Maybe we go back into lockdowns. Maybe Zoom, comes out with some new software or camera or whatever. I mean, anything could happen. But right now it looks weak. Square, rejection at the top of the range. Trading sideways this entire time. Got rejected at the top exactly as expected. I would expect this to come back down to the heart line, 200 exponential and simple at 230, as we've been talking about. No surprises here. Same exact thing on PayPal. Rejected at the top, rejected at the top, had a nice trade in that. We talked about potentially taking a scalp out of this range. But again, I told you, I just don't like it. I don't see any reason to buy into it right here. Let's see what price action does. And now here we are just bleeding out. A rejection off of the cross right here and just showing weakness. So, could we find support at 263? Yeah, I think it's more likely we find it around like 252. Maybe get slightly front run. At that point in time, you have a low, a higher low, and then a higher low. And then that could be potential for a move to the upside. And this just turns into a giant ascending triangle. Move back up to the top of the range. Probably gets rejected again. Eventually breaks out. Definitely a viable possibility, but right now, does not look good. eBay had a nice breakout, went like freaking parabolic off that support. Let's see what happens right here. If this area holds, I think it just keeps moving to the upside. But we're seeing quite a bit of bearish divergence developing. One of these stronger stocks that we'll look at today. Snap, again, I think this is going to continue down just like we discussed before and close this gap at like 63 bucks. Once it closes that gap, we'll have to see what it does. Maybe it gets a reaction rally back up and then continues to the upside. Maybe it just keeps bleeding out. I honestly could go either way at this point in time. I don't know. Could go either way. This thing had a nice run. Definitely one of the best performers. Apple, that's a nice juicy candle right there. Broke down from that key support that we've been hanging on to, that white one right there. Basically had a throw over at top of the range. This should have been a bullish pattern. Breakout, breaks out to the upside, indecision, and then dumps. Not surprising. That one little candle tells us right there something's wrong. After we break through a clear area, close at the highs of that daily candle, and then open lower with an indecision candle like that, that tells me that there's likelihood that this weakness is going to manifest into a sell-off. Where's that sell-off going to take us? I don't know. Technically, we already broke down below that previous high right here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're still above it. So I think we will come down and retest that previous high right here, and then we want to see that level hold. If we break down from there, it could get nasty. Apple could get nasty. It had a beautiful run all the way up to our target, another like 20% back to the upside. No reason it can't just bleed some of this out and give it back. This is one of the ones that's literally holding up the entire market, one of the best stocks in the market. Amazon looks absolutely terrible at this point in time. We've been talking about this for some time. Why does Amazon look so shitty? And was this just a giant throwover that completely faked out all the little idiots on CNBC talking about Amazon's been consolidating and now it's broken out? It's going to 6,000. It's going to 9,000. It's going to 3,200. Oh, wait, no. That's what I said, 3,200. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. So now here we are below the 200 exponential, below the 200 simple, and rolling over, seeing absolutely no strength whatsoever here. Looks very weak. And this is Amazon, the number one beneficiary of this entire pandemic, and it looks like shit and has looked like shit for over a year at this point in time. What does that tell you? Something's not right here. Facebook, one of the strongest in the market, broke down from key level. 821 probably going to cross the downside. I mean, we're a little ways away from the 200 exponential and simple, showing some bearish divergence. I think realistically, actually, we're not even, there's some bearish divergence between these 2 points. I mean, I think this thing probably still does well in comparison to most everything else. Google, once again, showing some weakness, but again, like probably one of the top performers in the market. I mean, these like blue chip stocks are like basically just holding everything up, all the indexes at this point in time. Netflix looks absolutely terrible as well. Same thing as Amazon. Same as Amazon. It looks like it's literally getting ready to lose these levels. The 200 exponential and simple were like losing their slope back here. We got one little jab back up to try to save it, and now here we are hanging around. I think we're going back down to the bottom of the range, 467, and then probably at some point in time we're going to break down. I think this could easily go below $400. Looks terrible. Microsoft still looking strong, showing some weakness right here. Probably does have a little pullback, but again, this thing is basically like propping up the whole market. Bearish divergence taking place. Really got to just wait for this to develop. If something, I like to long the strongest and short the weakest, like not the other way around. I don't want to short the best performing like stocks in a market. I know some people think, well, but it's up so high, it has to come down. It doesn't usually work like that. It's usually the other way around. Whatever's been strong tends to stay stronger, and whatever's been weak tends to get weaker because people sell their shitty stuff and then put more in their better stuff. So things concentrate towards winners, not towards losers. It's like a horse race. You think more people bet on a horse that just won the last Kentucky Derby or on one that's like got the highest odds because it's due? I'm going to jump over in chat and say what's up, and then we'll keep ripping through these assets. Plotting away, tradability, new pathway, yo. What's up, my man? KO, it's good to see you. What's happening? Lazy boy, good morning to you, my friend. Spike Keystone says, and we're back. What's happening, people? What's happening with you, Spike? I'm doing well, and I hope everyone else is. Make sure you like and subscribe. Oh, I don't know about that. People are pretty dumb. I'm not sure what you're referencing, but I have to agree with you agreeing with me. People are fucking stupid. Yeah, remember, guys, it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile. Please do your own research and trade responsibly. Let's take a look at our commodities next, and then we'll do our crypto. Yeah, sounds good. So gold had a nice little move up since our little dumpy dump. Recovered the majority of the losses. Still well below 200 exponential and simple. We are now above the 8 and 21. I think we're going to come up here and retest them. I don't necessarily think we're just going to roll these back over, get back on top, and shoot up to new highs. But there is one thing worth paying attention to. From the previous top right here, we will notice that the initial sell-off came down below, got back above, but the slope was still positive. Came down below, the slope flipped negative on the 200 exponential and simple, and then it came all the way up one more time for a triple top before it went into like a confirmed hardcore long-term bear market. So is it possible right here that we still push back up to the upside and get like one more retest of the highs at like 1900? It is definitely still possible. It is definitely still possible. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed on the actual gold chart. I do not think gold is just going to all of a sudden turn this thing around. It's possible though, so we'll wait and see. We have lost 8 and 21 right here. This is a very bullish candle. Last time we got one, we had a nice run up to the upside. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. The silver chart is much worse than this. But we'll have to wait and see. There's definitely a possibility we could see another $100 move to the upside on gold. Especially once again as I think as people rush out of equities, start getting scared, inflation, prices going up, there's definitely still an argument for gold. And also it's important to remember too that while the DXY and gold have been operating like kind of like inversely lately, they don't always operate like that. So even though short term they've had like a correlation like inverse, that's not always the case. A lot of times they can move to the upside and to the downside together. So it's not worth ruling that out as a possibility as well. Matter of fact, I think it's probably likely in the long run, depending what happens with gold here. Silver looks weak, broke down much lower, bled out the majority of its gains already. It basically came up here, closed, bled off, had a nice little pushback up, could not get above the 8 right here, and then it's just getting rejected. So silver was strong for a long time since it topped out, and now it's looking weaker, which again is exactly what we've been expected, because when we look at the gold to silver chart and we remember what we've been talking about forever, what's happening right now? Gold is literally like, this is what the start of a parabolic move looks like. We start moving to the upside, we start gaining, we're gaining even more and more and more, and then next thing you know, you just get a giant green candle and then just keep getting progressively bigger and bigger, and then finally you top out. That's, this is what it looks like when they start going parabolic, and that's what we're seeing right here. As opposed to here, we just have like sort of a consolidation, then just one big move to the upside. This is like the beginning, the building of momentum. And now while we are still below the 200 exponential and 200 simple, we're seeing our weekly signs pointing to the upside for gold in comparison to silver. But again, I do think we're still just going to top out back here at like the 80 to 90 range, somewhere around there. And then I think over time, over the next few years, I think silver will gain in comparison to gold. But in the meantime, I think silver is going to continue to underperform, whether that means gold is going up or silver is going down faster and gold is also going down. Either one can happen, but I don't think this chart is going to lie to us regardless. So while we see indecision in the gold chart, like could go either way kind of, we see a very clear idea of what's happening on the gold silver ratio. And that clear, it's clearly telling us gold is going to continue gaining strength in comparison to silver, regardless of direction. XPT platinum, again, performing like silver, very weak. Dead cat bounce, in my opinion, off of our 382 fib level. I expect this to continue rolling over. The 200 simple will eventually roll over, and platinum will probably underperform, but to the downside more. These silver miners look terrible. First Majestic looks like shit. This is not going to be good if silver's not good. Silver juniors look horrendous. Look exponentially worse. 200 exponential and simple have rolled over. They look like they're just about to get absolutely shellacked. So all these people that were like, when's going to be my time? Silver junior miners, we're going to do this thing. We're the silverbacks. Hooray. You're all about to be living in a tent, living in a van down by the river. So have fun, idiots. Don't get me wrong. I like silver, but you cannot count on fundamentals and silver squeezes on the internet to try to use as investing advice. It's fucking ridiculous. USAS looks absolutely horrendous, breaking down from a key level. Their earnings report was straight death. They were estimated at -6 cents and doubled that, over doubled that, surprised by 116%, and not a good surprise either, my friends. So if stocks are doing bad when they beat their earnings and their estimates, imagine what they're going to do when they miss by over 100%. This thing is retesting key levels, and it looks like it is just going to get absolutely shellacked. It's at $1.01 now, probably will be at 0 very soon. Not literally. It probably didn't go to 50 cents. It's probably going to 50 cents. So see at 50 cents. Now, realistically, we can throw a little Fibonacci on here and see what's likely to happen based on our little move up to the 618, which is perfect rejection of what we were expecting. Let's see what that looks like. Well, it looks like we're headed down here to 786. So see it at 81 cents. After that, maybe 63 cents. Yeah, this thing is getting crushed and probably going to continue getting absolutely destroyed. Tilray had a nice little pop-up right here. I know everybody's like bullish on pot stocks because the USA and legalization. Not going to fucking happen anytime soon. Not going to happen anytime soon. I would not be surprised if it is 2 to 5 years before marijuana is federally legalized in the United States. So careful with these fundamental arguments. We are now well below the 200 exponential moving average and has flipped over to the downside. The 200 simple is very close to rolling over. Pot stocks look terrible. They have looked terrible for some time. Don't buy the hype. These things have underperformed. We went into the most epic bull market of all time, and all they did was bleed out the whole time and make lower highs. So probably not going to just all of a sudden start doing great. ACB looks terrible. If it breaks down from this level right here, it's going to lose another, I don't even know, $1.30, $1.40. I think $5.30 looks probable right here. This pattern is all but invalidated at this point in time, in my opinion. Looks terrible. 200 simple is about to roll over to the downside also. Terrible. CGC, Canopy Growth, probably the worst. I'm sure there's somewhere out there there's a worse pot stock, but I can't find it. This one is by far the worst that I look at. It looks like an absolute shit show. Looks like straight garbage. I would literally not even roll this up and smoke it. That was a pot joke, obviously. But you probably shouldn't do drugs anyway. So, yeah, looks terrible. Looks absolutely terrible. URA, uranium stocks. No surprises here. Just bleeding out. I expect them to continue bleeding out. Maybe bounces 200 exponential and simple. Terrible. UEC looks terrible. Looks even worse. Has already lost to 200 exponential and simple. I expect this to continue breaking down to the downside. Next target, $1.75. After that, $1.45. Uranium Energy Corp, terrible. All these uranium stocks look terrible. All these people that like bought into uranium late. When somebody doesn't talk about something for 30 years and then all of a sudden it goes mainstream and becomes cool, probably not a good idea to get into it then. But hey, what do I know? If you hold it for another 10 years, I'm sure you'll be way up, way up. But you probably could have like put your money literally anywhere but pot stocks between now and then and done better, because this is like long-term cycles. CCJ looks terrible. About to break down from 200 exponential and simple. Continuation to the downside. URNM, North Shore Uranium, same thing. Looks absolutely terrible. Looks like it's going to bleed out. I mean, these things could see some kind of reaction rallies, but we just broke below the 200 exponential and simple and then got rejected. Probably just going to keep selling off. Copper, oh look, I was right. Lower high, and now it's dumping. So do we find a reflex rally off 200 exponential and simple? Yes, we probably do. CPER, copper index, probably just going to bleed out over time. Very clear targets like $21, etc. Again, popular trades. By the time something like copper and uranium and pot stocks are like popular, they're probably already done. Silver junior miners, probably already done. LIT lithium, this thing's done. It's done for now. It broke down from key levels. As soon as it took out this level right here at $85, I'm no longer interested in it until it starts to like develop some kind of like functional pattern. It looks like it's getting ready to cross 821 to the downside. Very nice performer. Did extremely well on this, but let's be real, probably done for now. So hydrogen ended up putting in a new low right here. Hit our target almost perfectly, the 1.618, and then went absolutely parabolic after that. And by parabolic, I mean it's been operating inside of like a 10 to 15% range. So this thing just really needs to carve out like a little more time on this. It's just retesting its breakdown, retesting its previous support as resistance. So if it breaks back above this, I think it probably comes back up near the top of the range, but more likely than not, I think it gets rejected and continues down. I would not be surprised to see it come down here to 2.618, which again is only like $19.39. So it's not like it's just going to like drop 50%. It's just such a tight range. It looks like these moves are big, but they're really not. Lumber, again, just it's showing no strength whatsoever. It's going to be very hard to show any kind of strength anytime soon. And in the meantime, 200 exponential and simple are just rolling over to the downside. Lumber's just going to get crushed. Caterpillar, lower high rejection. This looks like a dead cat bounce off 200 exponential and simple. I expect it to just bleed out. Deer looks much better, but same thing. Basically just lower high. Looks like it's just going to bleed out back down to the 200 exponential and simple. I would expect another reaction rally off that. Infrastructure trade is already priced in. It's already done. There is no infrastructure trade. There is no actual money going to get spent on infrastructure. They're going to spend it on like daycare and paying off their friends. Nothing will get built. No new stuff will happen. There will be no functional use of trillions of dollars. They will fail. Government is a failure. End of story. And if you don't believe me, Just look at anything ever that government has done and guarantee you it's a failure. AM, Antero Midstream Corp, breaking down from 200 exponential and simple. Looks terrible. Maybe it gets a reaction rally off this level, but it's just going to continue to get sold into. Cemex, same thing. I expect it down here at like $7 very soon. I'm surprised it's even holding on this well. Steel company's been doing quite well. CLF, up here at the highs, at the cycle highs. Of a overall market that does not look good. Steel companies, American Steel, Cleveland Cliffs, a couple others, looking surprisingly good. So, and the ones that stay strong, I think are going to literally have even more reason to stay strong because people are always looking for somewhere to put their money. Not everybody can just like sit on the sidelines and wait for opportunity. They literally just dump money into the market and they just pick the best looking things. So a lot of times the ones that are holding on decent will continue to hold on decent or even move up. So Ford looks bad. I mean, this thing's done. It's done. It's going down. 200 exponential and simple. GM looks even worse. Not surprisingly. Breaking down from those key channels. All these are. I would just expect them to continue bleeding out, stair step their way down. Hasbro. Okay, so this is exactly what I talked about. Once we broke down from the breakout point, I don't trust these things the same way. We had a very clear, defined resistance. We break through it. We come down to it. I want to see that hold as support. We break down, try to push back above it, and now it's just bleeding out. I expect this to come all the way back down and revisit the bottom of this channel. And in the end, what are these all going to look like? Wyckoff distribution patterns. These are all throwovers. These same patterns over and over we're seeing. This is Wyckoff distribution. I said it with Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin got absolutely wrecked. Crypto got absolutely destroyed, decimated. Capitulation events. It's the same exact thing happening again. It's Wyckoff distribution pattern. We trade in a range, we break out of that range, and then it fails and gets sold into, and then just sells off finally to the downside. So very soon, I would expect this to break down from the 89 level and just continue to bleed out. Hasbro is going to get destroyed because that's also going to be it losing the 200 exponential and simple. Yeah, terrible. Big fake out. Works looks absolutely terrible. Trying to hold on to this level for some continuation. Is there potential here to just take a gamble for a 9-to-1 risk reward, or I guess 8-to-1 risk reward? Sure. If you can't help yourself but gamble on something, there's definitely a nice risk reward ratio. But I'd say it still has 50% chance or higher of failing. But 9-to-1 odds, you can take that chance. You can flip a coin. Any Sphere 3D Corp, it's the same exact thing. There's definitely a trade to be had right here. If it holds this level, it could easily have a nice pushback up. I mean, I would have to get it at a better spot because you got to figure at this point in time, it's either going to go up to 950 or down to 250. So, there's great risk reward there. But again, what you're looking at a coin toss and something that's like basically in a massive bear trend. So, damn it. All right, I refuse to. No trade setup for you. Here, we can just use our tool right here. A push to the upside could easily yield 132%. A push to the downside just back to support could easily yield 32% to the downside. So 4-to-1 risk reward. You want to flip a coin on it? Sure. Is it probably going to go down though? Yeah, probably, because it's in a massive downtrend. Inside that, you could argue that it's starting to reverse, but it's hard for me to bet on losers. WTW, Weight Watchers. Speaking of losers, the biggest loser, not literally, but sorry, those were weight jokes. This massive gap down, and now it's just bleeding out as expected, as we discussed. We broke down from a key level. I do not expect this to all of a sudden do great. Maybe we get a retest of like $25. There's definitely a scalp trade potentially to be had there, but I think this thing just keeps bleeding out. If we lose this level at like $18, this thing's just coming back down here like 14 and then 10. I mean, it looks terrible. Looks absolutely terrible. I would think fundamentally though that Weight Watchers would absolutely kill it right now because I think they said on average like millennials during like the lockdowns gained like 40 pounds. So if there's like an extra like 20% of everyone right now, I would think that like realistically like I would think Weight Watchers could figure something out. Like the market's there for them, but I don't know. Maybe people just don't give a shit anymore. Maybe they like that extra spare tire. I don't know. Walmart. Been a while since we looked at this one, but we basically have hit our target. We spoke about our descending broadening wedge breakout, retest, entry point, came back down, slightly lower low, and now here we are. This has played out almost entirely. 13%. This looks like a pretty heavy rejection after an indecision candle right here at the 886. I think this is topped. Matter of fact, yeah, I think it's done. I really do. I think it's done. Yeah, man, I really do. This heavy rejection at the 886 perfectly after like multiple wick rejections above it. Yeah, this is donezo. Walmart finito. Not like as a company, but this move. Okay, let's check out our cryptos. I'm gonna jump in chat real quick. Maybe get a drink. I want to just keep running with it though. We're making pretty good time. Sorry, my energy is not like top notch. I've been sick this week and I've been like extremely busy, trying to get stuff done still. So, Spike Keystone says not financial fried rice. It is not financial fried rice. It's regular fried rice. Oh man, I love me some Chinese food. If you think hard enough about Chinese food, you can almost smell it. Mmm. Really like any ethnic food, I feel like. That's like I think that's just your brain connecting to like, that kind of like ethnicity. Spike says he is working on art while listening to you break it down. Hell yeah, man. I don't know what kind of art you do, but cool stuff, dude. There's definitely an art to technical analysis, so you could argue that we're both creating art right now. CW, good to see you, my man. WTW. Used to go there to find dates. Nice, dude. Nice. Get them while they still got low self-esteem. Moving in. Okay, I see what you're doing. Highly motivated, lowly self-esteemed. That was a joke, by the way. Mad respect. Hey, anybody that's not going to Tinder and Bumble to get dates, I respect. Spike says, how dare you be sick? You got to make sure you're good. Yeah, I know, right, man? It's probably just a little bit of that delta, a little delta, you know what I'm saying? A little run around, a little circle back on that Rona. Yeah, I'm like pretty sure. I mean, honestly, let's be real here. Like I was talking about how we went out to the fights like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and like nobody was masked up. The place was like packed. I live in like basically a tourist community in the dirty South where there's like a 4% vaccination rate. Like, let's be real. And then on top of that, like everybody else just comes here because we don't have any like rules because we're like rebel capital of the world or the United States. So I probably just grabbed up a little more of that Rona. But I do believe in like God and science and my body's ability to like fight off diseases as it has done for thousands of years. So while I still will get sick from things, I think probably like the human race as a whole is not going to get like wiped out because we didn't all get vaccines. I do art on disc golf discs. Spike, that's fucking awesome, dude. We have a ton of. I grew up disc golfing, my dude. We had like one of the earliest courses, or I guess best courses. Like I don't even know. It's been there for like 30 years. When I was growing up, fucking awesome course. And now where I live, there are bunch of courses. People literally like come down here on vacation and disc golf. And what's that like disc golf? circuit or whatever. They were like just down here recently. Oh man, why can't I think of it? Yeah, whatever. They were like, it's like fully televised, everything. Yeah, I love disc golf, man. Matter of fact, I'd love to see some of your art sometime. Probably like have to support you. So reach out to me. And yeah, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Definitely a big fan. Cool hobby for sure. I definitely prefer it over typical golf, although I do like both. And we've got quite a few golf courses down here as well. So, but yeah, definitely be interested in seeing your art, my man. Maybe it's just a regular cold. They disappeared. Yeah, I have a pretty good idea what how my body reacts to things. And to tell you the truth, man, like over this last like whatever, when I got the Rona the first time, and then there was like a resurgence the second time, it was like literally the sickest I've ever been in my life. So I'm like pretty healthy, and this was like basically like a baby version of that, but had very similar like symptoms. Like I've gotten sick obviously many times in my life, but I have never gotten like the energy drain and like headaches the same way that I have gotten in this past like year plus whenever I got the Rona these multiple times. But as far as I'm concerned, this is like my third time having these type of symptoms. And again, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but the fact of the matter is I know my body pretty well, and I have a pretty good idea that it's basically just like essentially the same thing for a third time. Now, the first two times was really bad. Well, the first time was kind of bad. The second time was really bad. And then this time has been more just like lack of energy, haven't been able to sleep very well. And then I've had like badass headaches. But yeah, definitely not just common cold, unfortunately. I mean, I wish it was, but again, I know my body pretty well, man. De La Vega, the Pro Tour? No, that's not it. I can't think what it's called. I'll have to look it up. I just remember when they were down here. But pretty cool though. Yeah, definitely message me, brother. Or if you got a website or something, yeah, shoot me the website and I'll go check it out. Or just like whatever, somewhere where I can see your art. But yeah, I'd love to support you, my man. CW says, could you look at AMAT or CCI? They seem to reside within many of the REITs. Oh, yeah. Oh, REITs, sorry. Yeah, of course, man. I can sound out letters because I'm literate. Yeah, do you have a preference? You want me to look at both of them? Doesn't really matter. What's the second one? CCI. Yeah, we could take a look at these bad boys real quick. Okay, so let's check out applied materials first. Let's go to a longer time frame and just kind of see what we're working with. Oh yeah, looks great. Well above 200 exponential and simple on the monthly. Basically just going absolutely parabolic. Starting to show some weakness here, obviously. Getting bought up pretty aggressively off the 8 the last couple times. But now, it's a fairly bearish candle. I would look for potential for something like this to start to develop. We're at the top of the range. We're seeing our first red monthly histogram. So it is possible that it's topping right here. Yeah, we did break down below the 8 and the 21 on the weekly. We really need to see if this trend's going to continue. You want to see it get back above like this 134 range. If not, I mean, every time, this is just an easy way to look at it. Doesn't mean it has to happen, but every time we lost the 821 in the past, we sold off back down to the 200 exponential and simple, slightly below. So the same thing here. As soon as these cross over red, they go down to the 200 exponential and simple and get bought up aggressively. So that's what I would be looking for. And it just so happens that, without getting crazy here, you know, we have obviously have like a pretty clear, you know, resistance right here. And then once we broke above it, we didn't come back to it. So if we break down and we overshoot the 200 exponential and simple, even slightly, where's that going to put us at? Well, right at the breakout period. So I would be looking for, and Jesus, that's a 50% dump right there. I mean, that's aggressive. I don't want to say this thing is going to lose 50%, but I mean, there's definitely an argument to be had that this thing could lose 50%. This time when it crossed over, you know, on the weekly, it hit the 200 exponential and simple, overshot it. So that's what I'd be paying attention to. A retest of the breakout. Doesn't have to happen. Here it got bought up slightly ahead of time, so it didn't quite make it there. But I mean, I'd be cautious on that one. Quite a bit of weakness on the weekly also. It's like almost all red histograms. We're well below the slope line. It is still blue, but it looks like it's about to flip red. And then we got the buy, sell at the top of the range. This thing looks like it's about to be done. It's still possible to save this price action, and it's possible that we have, you know, a lesser pullback. I would look at probably the Fibonacci from this last swing low in March of 2020 up to what's potentially our top right here. Once we hit that 236, if it gets down to $106, that's going to look like it's probably topped out for now. And then again, you know, that almost lines up too good, because look where our 618 is at. The 618 is literally at the breakout from those previous high lows. Let's pull a Fibonacci extension from our previous top right here to our bottom and see what the likelihood is that we hit a key extension and that's topped out. Yeah, I mean, we're right at the 2.0, 200%. Slight overshot, but this looks like it could have topped out already. I would be paying close attention to this as being done, at least for the short to midterm. But I mean, that 618 lines up just too good. I mean, that's too good. Could we give back 61.8% of this move, come back down, find support, and then continue to the upside? For sure, we definitely could. But that, you know, that's a 50% drop from the high right here. So that's what I would be paying attention to. And then CCI, Crown Castle International, or the Commodity Channel Index. Which one is it? It's definitely Crown Castle. Man, this after that little gap down right here, that was after earnings. I mean, it wasn't even that bad, but that's crazy. It's a I guess it was already priced in. Like everything, it's like, oh, we beat earnings. It's like, but the market still hates us because we didn't beat them by enough, I guess. That's funny. Yeah, so it gapped down after its earnings beat. Not like a crazy percent or whatever, but it looks like it's just trying to get up here to close that gap. Closed a nice portion of it, but now it's sold back down below. It was trying to cross back to the upside and keep moving, but it does not look like that's what's going to happen. God, this thing went sideways for freaking forever before that move up too. Man. There's really not a lot of the two key areas I'd be looking at right here, just with like horizontals, just keeping it simple, are basically, you know, this top from right here, which we already retested on the initial sell-off, and then it looks like we just want to put in a lower high. And then the next level I'd be looking at is basically this support from back here. And again, you know, you could argue maybe it should be one of these areas right here or something like that. But if we just pull a quick fib, we can get an idea of what's more important. But I suspect probably both areas will be important. But again, that's going to line up, you know, the bottom of this push down right here is going to line up perfectly with, like, with the 200 exponential and simple, depending on where you get there. But if we take a fib from the bottom to the top of that last move, if you're charting along at home, the bottom being March 2021, you know, that's going to line up with all those same levels almost perfectly. The 236 is literally right here, which tells us that's probably the right way to draw it. The 382 is literally the second point that we picked out. And then, you know, we could go to a longer time frame and probably this would line up a little differently. Yeah, our longer, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was expecting. When we go to the monthly right here and we redraw that bottom line right there, it basically lines up perfectly with the 0.5. So as far as I'm concerned, this probably has topped out. I mean, it looks too good to not be right. And then if we want to see extension wise, obviously looking back in hindsight, um, yeah, it looks like we basically perfectly tagged. Yeah, we perfectly tagged the 1.618. So again, this probably has topped out. Very, very likelihood. Very, very high likelihood it has topped out. And then we notice these same levels line up on the fib extensions of like the previous high to low, and then also the Fibonacci from the low to the high. So probably coming down here to retest that breakout and the moving averages, like 179. Percentage wise, not going to be like a game changer, but we really got to see what happens then. If it finds support right here, it could easily keep creeping up. But I mean, this is like, obviously, like you were saying with the REITs and everything, man. I mean, there's a high likelihood that you'll have plenty of warning with real estate, but I suspect that if the market starts showing weakness, real estate's going to get crushed quicker than people expect. I don't think it's going to be like the previous cycles where we had like years before, like, real estate started showing the real damage, because we have extra pressure, because we had for so long, there was so little supply on the market and prices were just going parabolic. People weren't selling and there was no supply for the ones who were buying. So it created like a bottleneck. And then on top of that, part of the reason there was no supply is because you couldn't kick bums out of your house that were squatting, because the government gave them permission to be squatters. No offense if anybody watching is a squatter, but I suspect that you're all like decent human beings and pay your bills. I mean, the truth is there's going to be a flood of real estate that enters the market if these eviction moratoriums ever go away. And when that happens, real estate's probably going to crash quickly, because the more supply that comes online, the faster prices are going to dump, because everybody tries to front run everybody else, because they're like, oh shit, prices are falling after going parabolic. I got to get out while I still can. I want to capture these profits. And then it causes, a waterfall of selling. So could be bad. Could be very, very bad. So let's look at some cryptos here. Hopefully that hit everything for you there, CW. Okay, I'll check that out, Spike. Shit, do I have to have an Instagram to look at Instagram? I don't know if I've ever actually been on Instagram. Hopefully I can just look at it. But I will check it out, man. If not, I'll have you email it to me. Or either way. GRT USDT. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the breakouts in cryptos that are happening right now. Hang on one second. This is what I like to refer to as death throes. Wait, are we talking about the same thing? GRT, USDT just broke out? Broke out of what? Am I looking at the right thing? On Binance? Yeah, this does not look like a breakout to me. Okay, cool. I'll check it out, Spike. Yeah, this does not look like a breakout to me, my man. You mean just above that point right there? I mean, one, this thing is massively underperforming like every other crypto, but typically the way I look at like breakouts, like what's happening with Sol, like Solana right now and stuff like that, is these are like death throes of the market. Like the market is topping out. People start to realize it. Altcoins, shitcoins, whatever, have like that one final run up because they have like smaller market caps. So people like pump them so they can dump them and then get out. And then they just roll over and die. And some like XRP never make new all-time highs, or Dash. Sorry, I had to take a jab at XRP there. Yeah, this thing looks terrible. $2.86 was the previous all-time high, and it's at 87 cents right now. So, I mean, it sold off probably worse than like anything else did. God. Sold off 85% since its high, which was in February. So it peaked way earlier than, yeah, I feel like that peaked before like Bitcoin and everything. When was Bitcoin peak? Seems like 10 years ago. April, yeah. So it peaked way sooner and then sold off just massively. I can't remember what this is. Or GRT? Is it Gertrude coin? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what it is, but it looks terrible. It just got rejected at the 200 exponential, and it's probably like one of the few cryptos that hasn't made it up to the 200 simple. Looks absolutely terrible. If it does get up 200 simple, it's like still another, what, 50% move up at 87 cents? Not quite 50%, but it looks terrible. Hard sell signal on the daily, getting rejected at the bullish control zone. All red histograms. Pretty big rejection candle right here. Yeah, look, this looks terrible, man. I'm not saying it can't get up there, but again, this is like, it's like one of the worst cryptos. But speaking of worst cryptos, no, let's look at Bitcoin. The futures chart still looks good. 200 exponential and simple to the upside. We did break down below the 8 today. Got rejected here, as expected, obviously, at a key level. Looks like it wants to sell back off. This looks like it wants to come down to like 4,300. All red histograms, hard sell signal, coming out of the bullish control zone. Looks terrible. Big surprise. This is the one that we really want to pay attention to, though. This is our Bitcoin traditional start chart on Bitstamp. And so far, it's still early. I could be wrong, but right now, I look like I am 100% exactly right. All the technical analysis we've been doing on crypto and Bitcoin, this is exactly what we expected. I said 7 to 14 days above the 200 simple moving average, and then we fail to hold it, and it breaks back down. So here we spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We spent 8 days above it, and now we got massive sell-off from it when we failed to hold it as support, a rejection indecision candle, and now we're attempting to retest it again. So, and then what did I say? 6 to 16% above it was my estimate, and we made it 6.79%. So we literally fell perfectly within my time and percentage targets above the 200 simple moving average. Is it possible we rally back above it and we go back to new all-time highs and the crypto circle jerk keeps going and everybody wins? Sure, it is definitely possible. It is 100% possible. Maybe we just go absolutely parabolic and hit $250,000 before year end, and then we go into our, bear market cycle. Sure, it's definitely a possibility. But the probability, the likelihood of that happening at this point in time is getting lower and lower and lower. So I said before I was 75% chance this gets rejected and we dump. Now I would say there's probably an 80% chance that I am right. So my conviction to the downside is only getting stronger as this price action does exactly what we're expecting. So we also have the sell, buy, sell signal, and we have now exited the bullish control zone. We have only red histograms on the daily, and we have lost 2 key levels of support, the 8 EMA and the 200 simple moving average, which had a flat slope. Basically, it actually flipped negative a couple times here, and more than likely is about to flip negative again, especially while we're underneath it, which we are currently. So while we could see a pullback to 4,300 and then find support, I think that's very unlikely. What I'm paying attention to, what actually matters at this point in time, is I think the 200 exponential moving average. If we can come down here, find support on the 200 exponential, and then put in a new higher high, by all means, I will admit that I was wrong. But I think more likely than not, we are going to be selling off. A couple targets to the downside, but this looks weak. It looks literally like it's doing exactly what I said. Triple bullish divergence after an over 50% sell-off, reaction rally to the upside, failure to save the trend, and then rejection, 1 year downtrend, and probably 60 to 80% downside. So I'm getting more and more confident that Bitcoin is going to go down to $16,000. And the truth is, if Bitcoin goes to $16,000, it's going to invalidate everything that it's ever done in the past by taking out the all-time high of the previous cycle. Therefore, I'm going to get even more bearish, and I'm probably going to expect Bitcoin in, wait for it, I'm about to lose some subscribers, guys. Tell me if you can feel it. I think more than likely, if Bitcoin breaks down below $20,000, I think Bitcoin literally goes down into the single digit thousands. What does that mean? Somewhere in between $1,000 and $9,000 Bitcoin. Can you hear the subscribers leaving the channel? Unsubscribe, unsubscribe. Sorry, bros. But the truth is, I'm basing that on technical analysis. But this right here is our previous bull cycle. And what happened? We top out at 20 grand right here, sell off, come up here, hang out above the 200 simple moving average, and then break down from it. We break down to the 200 exponential, try to retest the 200 simple, cannot get back above it again, and then we go into a long downtrend. This one, actually, this was the mini cycle. Come back up here and then break down. This is our actual cycle in 2017, and you'll notice that price action looks very similar. It gets rejected at the 200 simple, comes down at 200 exponential, gets rejected at the 200 simple, and then breaks down below it again and goes into a long bear cycle and sells off massively. It loses from the rejection to the bottom 68% of its value. And then finally, let's look back at the previous cycle. And again, you know, sorry if I'm being mean, but this is technical analysis. It's not fundamental analysis and moon boy analysis, moon balances. 77.8% after we get rejected, find support on 200 exponential, cannot maintain it, lose the slope line, and capitulate. So 77% from where we top out at. So if we're topping out right now, where's that 77% put us at? In case I didn't lose you yet, now's your chance to unsubscribe. 77% is $10,700. So are we going back down to $10,000? Probably not. Is it starting to get more and more and more likely? Yes. Yes, it is. Does it look like we're going to put in a new high this cycle since our top at 64,000? No, it honestly does not. But what do I know? I'm just a technical analyst who's right like 80% of the time. Probably more, honestly, but weekly, we did cross it back to the upside. We're trying to hold on to it. But again, we did the exact same thing right here. It failed. Same thing right here. It failed. We did the could not cross it back to the upside right here and then failed. And then finally crossed it back to the upside right here and it failed. So I know people are saying, yeah, but the moving averages and the bullish and the all-time highs. Yeah, I just don't see it, guys. It's definitely possible. Still have portion of my positions open for now, but look, I'm taking profits. I'm not greedy. I'm the opposite of greedy. I'm conservative. I would rather buy back in at a higher price with more confidence than all of a sudden wake up in the morning and we're at 40,000 again and we didn't take profits. Ethereum looks like it's rolling over, topping out. Sell by sell, divergence signal, leaving the bullish control zone, all red histograms. It looks extremely tired. It outperformed Bitcoin on its little bump right here. If we go from the top to the bottom, we topped out just shy of the 786, or we overshot the 618, whichever one you want to call it. Could it still keep going to the upside? It's definitely possible, but it's going to be very difficult for any other altcoins, to continue to the upside while Bitcoin sells off. If it goes sideways, they could by all means pump. This looks very weak to me. We broke out Bitcoin Ethereum chart. We broke out to the upside right here, and now it looks like it's just rolling over. We're now below the 8, barely in between the 8 and the 21, and it looks like we're going to break back down inside of this range before long, and then Ethereum's just going to start losing value in comparison to Bitcoin, which tells us one of two things is happening. Either Bitcoin is going up and Ethereum is going up less fast, or Bitcoin is going down and Ethereum is going down more fast. More faster. Faster. Uniswap overshot the 200 simple and then it's capitulating down from it. I expect it back down at $21 very soon. Sell by sell, all red, looks like shit. Basic attention token, came up to the 200 simple, our target perfectly, took profits obviously on these things as we are getting the exact moves we expected. Sell by sell, all red histograms, sold off already back down to the 200 exponential in no time. And I expect that to eventually break. Probably chop around here for a little bit, but looks terrible. Doggy Dogecoin broke back above that key resistance of 30 cents. Got a nice little push up right here. Obviously took profits along the way. I probably took them slightly early. I think it was like 31 cents when I noticed. But very difficult to maintain above the support. If we do, maybe it moves back to the upside and I can get bullish again. But right now, it looks like we're just getting rejected. We're pushing back down below this level, and then soon we're going to sell off violently. Moving average wise looks more bullish than most cryptos, but only just because it had such a ridiculous move. Polkadot finally hit our target perfectly. Took profits along the way. Again, I expect the exact same thing to happen. Come back down to 200 exponential moving average. Sell by sell. Multiple red histograms. Trying to move back up here. It's going to be very difficult to get above this level. It's a very key resistance right here. And then we also have the moving average above our heads. It could still get up to like $29, but the likelihood is less and less. Chain link overshot a little bit. Could not close above the 200 simple moving average, rejection. Back down at the 200 exponential. Hard sell at the top of the range. Left the bullish control zone. All red histograms. Chain link. Exactly the same as everybody else. Looks shitty. Matic. Not as much time frame, so we don't have the 200s in the same way, but hard sell signal. Now we're below the 8 again. Looks like, all red histograms on the daily. Losing strength. Rejection from key levels. Another in a series of lower highs. Looks terrible. XRP had a nice little run here. Overperformed. The chart was actually better than most. It got well above its 200 exponential and simple moving averages. Had a nice little burst to the upside. Made it back over $1. Still could not put in a new high. Let me just remind people too, because I know they get butthurt sometimes when I talk shit about their favorite crypto. This is XRP last cycle. This is XRP this cycle. No higher high. So if XRP does not put in a new higher high this cycle, it is what I call a dead asset. It is a dead asset. It is the Intel of the crypto world. It is the Vodafone of the communication world. It is the MicroStrategy of the pieces of shit that exists more than anything else in the whole world. It's total garbage until it puts in a new all-time high. If it does not put in a new all-time high in this 4-year cycle, XRP is dead. Not just to me, but to the whole world, in my opinion. But full disclosure, I have made plenty of money off of XRP because I don't hate it. It's just a piece of shit. Solana, probably one of the best performers on this little stint of the bull run. As once it took out the high at $40, it did exactly what I said. Came back down, retested it, and now it's going absolutely parabolic. How can we figure out where will it ever stop? Nobody knows. But if we go from that high to our low right here, we could at least look at some Fibonacci extensions. I would say probably somewhere around the 2.618, maybe $91, another $18 to the upside. Got obviously rejected pretty heavy at the 2.0. Maybe it already topped at like the 2.5. But again, there's less and less winners in a market, so the money can flow into those couple winners. So when this thing had its breakout above $40, a lot of people just chase it because everything else is just so pathetic. Or maybe they just think like, oh, this is it, the bull run's on. But typically people buy their favorite crypto if like everything's going to go back into a bull run or everything's going to go to new highs or whatever. When only a couple things are performing, people FOMO into the outperformers. So maybe this is just a meme stock or meme crypto. Probably. But in all reality, it's probably just one of the few things that's putting in a new all-time high. Cardano, overperformed this most recent move in comparison to most cryptos, I think. But looks like it's topping out here. It's trying to creep back up here. I don't know. Cardano's a powerful cult. Cults are usually like good right up until the cult members all die from drinking the Kool-Aid. So I think honestly Cardano looks stronger than most. Could even put in a new cycle high or all-time high, I should say. Yeah, it could. We'll have to see. Bitcoin dominance. got rejected at that level, came down here. We're looking to see, does it just put in a new, higher low? That's what we're expecting. Total market cap, a little rejection up here at like the 2 trillion, selling back off, but I would expect that to act as resistance, obviously. The initial target was for that like 1.8 trillion or 1.7 trillion, after which 2 trillion, nice round number. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult for this to break out to the upside without Bitcoin. Bitcoin pretty much has to put in a new all-time high, or shitcoins just have to go on a straight run. Either one's possible, but unlikely, less likely now. Riot looks terrible, topped out exactly where expected, could not get above that previous support, acting as resistance, and now it's selling back off. I would just much rather buy actual Bitcoin or shitcoins than Riot. Coinbase got completely rejected below the 0.5 here. Hit our first target, 24. I did not end up back in this trade. It just wasn't. It just really wasn't worth it. It'd been underperforming for so long, and now here we are. Basically, it looks like we topped out, came back down, trying to find support right here. Could find support and continue on, but again, it looks like shit. Hard sell signal, bunch of red histograms. I would rather just buy Bitcoin or random shit coins if you want to leverage position. Hood, Robinhood, man, it had such a wild run up. I could see this coming up here a little bit higher, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just putting in lower highs, so we'll have to see. It's just hard to get bullish on something after it went absolutely parabolic. If it crosses the 821 back to the upside on the 4 hour, coming out of the bullish control zone, bearish control zone, it could start looking decent for at least some kind of lower high, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. New all-time highs. I do not think new all-time highs. MicroStrategy fell a little short of the target, but pretty clearly hit our key levels here. Just a series of lower highs, a high, a lower high, and now here we have a third lower high. Probably will just continue to sell off. And just in case anybody's new and doesn't know why Michael Saylor is a piece of shit bum loser and MicroStrategy is total trash, this was MicroStrategy in 2000 when it hit its all-time high of $3,252. And Michael Saylor got in trouble with the SEC and paid millions of dollars in fines because he's a lying scumbag piece of shit and committed criminal actions and cheated at, reporting sales and whatnot and did unethical / illegal things. So hence why I do not like Michael Saylor and I think he's a piece of shit bum. And then his stock actually sold off after that, 99.87%. And then proceeded to never put in a new all-time high, even after he got the whole crypto cult on his side, bought Bitcoin, shilled Bitcoin, and refuses to talk about why he's a scumbag piece of shit. And what happened? Well, his stock just put in another lower high since then, and it's been over 20 years and still has not taken out its all-time high. So as far as I'm concerned, dead asset. I think it's just a matter of time before Michael Saylor fakes his own death and steals all the Bitcoin or something like that, or gets investigated, arrested by the SEC, or loses the keys. I'm sure something. Don't worry, there'll be a new scandal sometime soon, or maybe he just over leveraged on the Bitcoin, and then when it sells off below his entry price, he gets liquidated because he won't tell anybody where it's stored in quote unquote hard wallets. Whatever the situation is, it's just a matter of time before the Michael Saylor scandal, and he'll probably be, a big portion of maybe he could be like the Mount Gox of why crypto crashes below its previous cycle all-time high. I think he could probably be that guy, and then everybody that loved him will hate him, and then his official nickname will catch on, Michael Snailer, the crypto slug, which I gave to him just now. GME, GameStop, sucks. It sucks. We hit our target, bounced to 200 exponential, getting rejected by 21. I mean, even AMC looks better than this, and it still looks like shit. At least it's back above the 821. Got the move back up as expected, topping out. Another lower high. Looks like total shit. The business is total shit. The company is total shit. Movie theaters are dead. No one's going to buy your popcorn and nerds with cryptocurrency because they're too busy hodling. Yeah, going back down here. Eventually, we'll get to our target, as expected, $25. The apes are getting desperate too. I saw a video the other day from Trades. He was like on CNBC before, and it was basically like, I don't know if he was on speed or cocaine or if he just drank like 9 Monster energy drinks, but they were like talking about people shorting it, and it's like it's getting like conspiracy theory, like jargle garbage. Absolutely pathetic. These meme stocks are pathetic. Bed Bath & Beyond looks like shit. Oh, we hit the 200 exponential on simple. We'll be back down here at the bottom of the range again, and then eventually probably pop back up. Maybe we just break down from it. Looks terrible. Bed Bath & Beyond looks like crap. Newegg. Oh, getting ready. We're getting ready, guys, for the big one. Big one coming. How long before we hit our target? $10.85. This is looking like the option trade of a century, as it looks like it is getting ready to capitulate. Looks very, very weak. Looks absolutely terrible. And doesn't have the same cult following. You know, that's the problem with a cult is that if your cult isn't the best cult, you're not going to be able to retain cult members. So make sure you join my cult, the non-cult cult. That's the best cult to be in. The crypto cult. No, the no crypto cult. DraftKings, once again, lower high rejection. Still hanging out between the 200 exponential and simple. It's still got a chance, but probably going to dump here. Probably going to dump here. I think that desperate move to buy the old nugget is probably just going to be, you know, I mean, this thing just looks like it's ready to just die. It's going to roll over and capitulate, and it'll be another one of Kathy Wood's losers. And that's it. We did it, guys. We did it. Hooray. Yeah, buddy. Nice and quick, too. I think we made it under 2 hours, right? Yes, good, good. I want to start trimming them down to 2 hours, I think. Unless there's like a ton of like exciting stuff to talk about. Yeah, definitely. But I do plan on, hopefully next week I'll be feeling better. And I'm going to start just doing either excerpts from the big videos or maybe just doing like little 15-minute TA like deep dives on like specific assets. So like the assets that we normally look at, the popular ones, whether it's crypto or a stock or a chart or whatever it is, like DXY for instance, I'm just going to like do a quick little like 15-minute video separately, or maybe I'll do them in the live stream and then I'll just trim them and put them in like a separate video. But like a deep dive into individual ones with like targets to the up and downside, probabilities, like likelihood of success, what I'm looking for, etc. Because I have noticed that just doing the live streams is like not good for like new viewers, because it's pretty much just the same people all the time. And I'm still trying to grow the channel, although I really don't care nearly as much as I probably should for the amount of time and effort I put into it. Yeah, but I appreciate all the group members and you guys showing your support. Oh, a couple of people asked also about the TJD Master, the new indicator. You know, that's something I'm actually only giving to the group members, at least for now, as sort of a thank you to them. And maybe at some point in time, I will make it public and everyone can use it. But for now, it's private and it's invite only. So you can always pull up my own chart and it's on there, and then you can kind of fudge it the way you want. But if you do want access to it, you have to join the group. Just another perk I'm trying to give the group members to show my appreciation for their support. So, but I appreciate everybody showing up today. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Looks like the DXY is just stampeding through its next target here. Crushing. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, look at that. It's about to take out our little wick here. Look at that big green candle coming in to stomp on all these assets. I mean, it's so close right now. Oh man, all these little crybaby technical quote unquote analysts about to just get dollared in the face. About to get the big DXY. Oh no. Suckers. And that's how you know the difference between somebody who knows what they're doing and everybody else. Is we've been right for months. There was never a doubt anywhere along the way. But yep, that's it for today, guys. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support. Everybody tuning in today. Crypto Trend Trader with our midweek market update. It is just about 10 p.m. on Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. Appreciate the love and support, the likes, and the group members as well. If you're interested in joining the group, give me a holla. But make sure, more importantly, that you like, subscribe, and share with your buddies. If you want to be in the #1 most winningest technical analyst channel in all the world with the least subscribers but the best TA, this is it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Crypto Trend Trader, and wait, before I go, I'm going to holler at the comment section really quick. Thanks for clearing that up. Lazy Boy has left the building. Spike Keystone says, the bankers want to shake out as many retailers as possible. Seems highly probable, in my opinion. The bankers want to shake out as many retailers as possible. Oh, yeah, for sure. They want to shake you out of the housing market and own your house and then rent it to you, if that's what you mean. CW, that sucking noise is YouTube lower your subscriber number. Yeah. 100%, dude. 100%. It's not YouTube lowering my subscriber count, though. It's me hurting people because I'm calling their, like, shitty assets shitty, even though it's the truth. But nobody wants to marry an ugly girl and then ask people, what do you think of my wife? And you're like, she's ugly as fuck, bro. You're like, that's the mother of my children and my wife. And I'm like, look, shouldn't have asked. Ray B says, good stuff. Gotta bail early, though. Have a good one. Hey, man, you're bailing just on time because I'm out of here, too. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate everybody. Take care of your family. Take care of your friends. Stay healthy. Eat right. Crypto Trend Trader. And I'm out of here.